Right, I'm finally going to be moisturising this skins, these fabulous old George Cleverley I've been restoring for weeks. If you've watched the previous videos, you'll have seen a huge amount of work on these shoes. There's another one down here that is still in a very rough stage. The skins are still horrendously cracked. It looks a disaster, but if you've seen the previous videos, you'll understand this can be saved and this can be brought back looking really rather lovely. It's been dyed a couple of times over the last week or so, and the finish of a dye, it does actually look a bit disappointing. It actually looks very matte and rather like suede. I've actually moisturised the other side to give you an idea of what unmoisturised, freshly dyed skin, and this has just had one quick coat of moisturiser, and it's still slightly damp, and as you apply the moisturiser with a rag, you then you have to buff it quite, with quite a lot of energy, and this will go on for some time. The more you buff, and the more you reapply moisturiser, and then buff. And this is just one odd brush. It's got quite a lot of residue of moisturiser. When you're sort of happy that the surface is coming reasonably well, use a cleaner brush. And then finally, I would use a soft cloth. But let me just show you, I'm going to get my old towel. I always use this old towel to try and protect myself, some gloves. So I'm going to pop on some moisturiser just to show you how easy it is to apply. And let's do the other side that hasn't yet been treated. This is a process, it will go on for, several days. So I'll apply fine layers and buff that in, allow it to dry, apply another fine layer. Where's my cloth? Here we go. I use this cloth for always moisturising. It's fine to keep using the same bit as long as it's the same colour underneath. So I'm just using black leather cream, a little bit. Yeah, that's already been slightly moisturised. It still looks a bit tatty, but we can get most of these minor abrasions and the slight unevenness over time with moisturising, and that will come away. So let's do the other side. It's just a case of rubbing into the skin, tiny little bits, and you have to sort of agitate it and work it in. And it goes in very quickly. These skins are dry, they're very thirsty, very dehydrated. They are more than 50 years old, and quite frankly, they've probably never been moisturised. I don't know how many times they've been polished, many hundreds, but I don't think they've ever been stripped of polish and fully moisturised. It's important to bring the moisturiser down into the welting area. This is skin. It's very thick skin, very hard skin, but nonetheless, it's skin. So you moisturise there an awful lot and down into the stitching. Just do your best to really sort of work it everywhere. It will clog the holes, don't worry about that. Put plenty on. Let it sink down into the holes, because at the bottom of those holes there's yet more skin. But it's so just there, it's clogging the holes. So I'll take the brush, just the shoe brush, and stab away. There we go. I just sort of stab down into the holes and remove the clogging, and go back to the cloth. There's nothing more to it than this. It's just a case of keep repeating, small amounts, really work it in, and when you've gone as far as you can with the cloth, return to the brush. This process will get repeated, and I'll go over and over the same pieces. This has already been done. Let's give it some more. I'll go over it and over it, keep repeating the process many times, 10, 15, maybe 20 times, as much as it needs, quite frankly. And just let the skin keep absorbing. Eventually, you can feel it stops absorbing, becomes saturated, and it just, it just feels different to how it felt before. When it's dry, you feel it suck in. It dries under the cloth quite quickly, so you'll know when it's starting to become saturated. At that point, you can stop. But this, the friction of the cloth, the rubbing, makes a huge difference to the surface. Any minor sort of imperfections with friction on the cloth, you can almost rub them away, sort of blend them out flat. What you can't do really is take polish and try and polish something like this. That's been dyed and it looks like suede. You have to use the moisturiser. Really work up the best sheen possible with the moisturiser, before you'll attempt to polish. The polish just sits on the surface, whereby moisturisers, they sink into the skin, they're absorbed in. This is still wet, and you can see we're starting to get a respectable shine. And this is still wet. Imagine, you know, a couple of hours of this, of letting it dry, really buff, take a softer, cleaner brush, buff with that one, and then finally you take a very clean piece of soft cloth, not this one, this is the application cloth, and just buff a nice sheen before you put on the moisturiser. No, I'm talking rubbish, it's not moisturiser. Before you put on the final polish, that's your final coat. It just gives a lovely flat surface. I'm very happy with how these have turned out. It is necessary to take away the surface skin. This shoe is in appalling condition. The skin is all crunchy, and you have to remove that. There's no amount of moisturising. The process that I'm doing here, no amount of moisturising will return this one. And this one has to almost be, it has to have the surface filed away with abrasives. Makeup artists and ladies will understand you when if you can't really apply successfully makeup to skin that's a little bit uneven, a little bit pimply, got a few little bits of dead skin, or even dry patches. The dry patches will absorb the makeup, and it goes kind of blobby. You won't get an even. So you have to use like an abrasive cream or an exfoliating pad on the skin. Likewise, if you're trying to apply, it sounds odd, but if you're trying to apply like a false tan to the legs or something, you have to moisturise first to get an even finish with the false tan. And it's very much the same here. You have to moisturise these skins and moisturise and keep moisturising. Even when you think it's had enough, give it more. And keep buffing, keep dry buffing. And only then can you put on the final polish. If you put the polish on to skin that's a bit blobby like this, a bit dry, it will go on all uneven. It will look a real mess. But I just wanted to let you see the difference of what, you know, just a little tiny bit of moisturiser makes. Bear in mind, this is just one coat. And you know, it looks perfectly respectable. These slightly uneven bits, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to rub those out with friction under the cloth, under the brushes, you know, and that's what we started with. Completely inappropriate to try and polish that. But I'll continue this process of just applying the cream, rubbing quite furious with the rag, polishing hard with a brush, and polish again with a very, very clean brush. This brush will probably get it'll get stained on the tips, and I'll just wash it with shampoo, or maybe even washing up liquid, something like that, and allow it to dry. Keep it clean all the time. This one's obviously got a lot of residue. It doesn't really matter. But ideally you have two brushes, but this will take some hours. But I'll bring it back to you in a few days' time when it's been thoroughly moisturised, the sole included, and all the liners will have been moisturised and buffed. And it will look really quite shiny, but there'll be no polish. I'll then apply the final polish coat. But I'm happy with the outcome. It's been probably 60 hours to get to this stage over a period of weeks, but I'm very pleased with the outcome so far.